Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Lo. Hey, hey. Check, 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 check. Hello, hello. Check, 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 check. Hello, 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 hello. Check, 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 check. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello.
Om Nam Shivaya. Good morning, everybody. We are just waiting to see whether two of the panel members are supposed to be online. We will just quickly check whether they are online to start the session.
Om Amriteshwari Namaha. Thank you very much for joining us today. I would like to start by expressing our gratitude to our C20 chair, Amma, Her Holiness Mata Amritanandamayi Devi, for making this event possible. SDG 4, Quality Education and Research in Education, this panel discussion brings together eminent speakers, change makers, and thought leaders. Now, I would like to introduce Dr. Manisha Ramesh, who is the provost of Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham, where she oversees strategic initiatives, research, and innovation, interdisciplinary studies, and AI plus X. She also serves as the Dean of the International Programs and the School of Sustainable Development. At Amrita Center for Wireless Networks and Applications, AWNA, she holds the position of Director and Professor. With a prolific career, Dr. Ramesh has authored over 94 publications since 2007, including papers that have received the Best Paper Awards. Her contributions to the field have been recognized through prestigious accolades such as the Young Fellowship, Research Fellowship from the Indian government's Department of Electronics and Information Technology, and NABARD Award for her work on landslide monitoring and easy and early warning systems. Additionally, she serves as the editor of the Ad Hoc Networks Journal published by Elsevier. And Professor Ramesh is also one of the leads of the C20 groups. With this, I would like to pass it on to Manisha ma'am to take over from here.
Om Namah Shivaya, Om Amriteshwari Namaha. Good morning to one and all. I think it's indeed the privilege to be in this panel on quality education and research, which is one of the major agenda of any member countries which we take, because without that, progress is not even we could envision. And this is one of the area where our Chancellor Amma has also put in a lot of effort to bring in changes so that we can build sustainable and resilient communities. And we are fortunate to have our eminent panelists who have joined this panel. And as I call upon each of the panel members, I will introduce each of them. But just quickly to say that we have Dr. Chamu Krishna Shastri, Chairman, Committee for Promotion of Indian Languages, India. Dr. Bhushan Patwardhan, National Research Professor, Ayush Savitribai Phule, Pune University. Professor Judith Hollenweger Haskell, Zurich University of Teacher Education, Switzerland. Dr. Shahnaz Musa, Director, Climate Change and Knowledge Development Network, South Africa. Along with that, we have eminent professionals who has been either on the administrative side or the research or the education side in this group itself. So the way I have just discussed with the panel members was like initially maybe 5 minutes, each one of them talk about the different areas. I can pose a question, but they can go in and around whatever areas, because they are very experienced, so they don't have to basically, think that as a barrier to discuss, because what we feel is that everybody is looking forward for your expertise and over the years what you have learned and what you have experienced, and how we can bring this for preparing the policy recommendations. That's what we are looking forward. So feel free to bring out your points in the way you want. I don't know whether the online participants have joined. Not yet. Somebody is contacting? Okay. So 5 minutes where each one of them talk, and then at the end of it, we will have question answer session, which is open to each one of you, where you pose the relevant questions which the panel members can take up and take forward. So as the first, I'm very happy to introduce the first speaker, Dr. Chamu Krishna Shastri, as I said, who is the chairman of High-Powered Committee for the Promotion of Indian Languages. He is a renowned scholar and academician, currently serving as the key committee member for the chairman for the promotion of Indian language, Ministry of Education, with a strong dedication to the study and promotion of Indian languages and literature. He has authored numerous books and research papers in this field. Dr. Shastri's expertise extends to various academic bodies and committees, including the University Grants Commission, the National Council for Education, Research and Training, and the Indian Council of Social Science Research. His active involvement in research and development has significantly contributed to the advancement of Indian languages. Recognized for these exceptional contributions, Dr. Chammu Krishna Shastri has received accolades from prestigious academic institutions and organizations. Notably, he was honored with the Kerala Sahitya Academy Award for his exemplary translation work. Through his position as chairman of the high-powered committee, Dr. Shastri continues to play a pivotal role in promoting the richness and diversity of Indian languages, fostering their growth and preservation. His profound knowledge, scholarly achievements, and unwavering commitment make him a leading authority in the field of Indian languages and a driving force in their development and recognition. So we are honored to have you, sir. I was just thinking, since sir is here, it is a very relevant area, and we all know that what we lack today in the education. One of the major thing which I feel is like, sir, I was actually attending several panels yesterday. In one of the yesterday's panel, one of the member was commenting that, the lack of inclusiveness and equal access to education, that one of the reason which they are saying is that education is not delivered in mother tongue. So I would like to hear from you maybe also that whether such a challenge exists for delivering inclusive education and providing equitable access, or if there are challenges, what are you envisioning in building an educational system which will consider the approaches in enhancing the teaching and learning process? And what should be the focus in research in education? What are the areas left out?
Thank you for the Vishwa for giving me this opportunity to participate in this dialogue, and also thanks to the chair and my humble pronouns to all the experts here. Yeah, the very interesting and very important question you have raised. Again, it answer depends on the country, society also. If we see the global scenario, many countries are monolingual and many countries are multilingual. So answer will be different to both the situations. And some of the countries were ruled by foreign rulers for centuries. So past colonial impacts are continuing, then again the answer will be different. If we talk from the Indian context, then the 90% today, because of the 200 years of colonial education, most of the courses which are being offered, particularly professional education, and even from in school education also from the start, it is basically or primarily English centric, so not Indian language centric. So that is why NEP 2020, though recognizes the importance of English and English medium and suggests to continue it, but it emphasizes on the importance of mother tongue medium education. So there is no second opinion in the world that mother tongue education is beneficial for cognitive development and for any development of the not only the individual but the society and the country, nation. So certainly starting from foundation stage up to research, both in school education and higher education, mother tongue medium should also be available for the students. So there should be option for the students to opt his mother tongue medium. Certainly there will be challenges of implementation in multilingual society. If and where in, for example, northeast of India, where so many dialects are there, they are home languages. So how to, and also in the border areas of different states, it is basically multilingual. Then what should be the medium? So same challenges may be prevailing all over the world where society is multilingual. So then technology can be leveraged for that, and also teaching learning material could be made available in all Indian languages. Teaching learning process may be bilingual, trilingual, depending upon, and teachers have to be multilingual. There are some areas where teachers are also monolingual. So multilingualism, teachers have to be role model for their students as far as multilingualism is concerned. So that also, even to make the society multilingual, technology can be leveraged. So multilingualism is the answer for this question of mother tongue medium education. There, we need to create a congenial environment for learning more and more languages. So see, 90% of the Indian society doesn't know English. So because of that, the knowledge being created world over every day in English is not being reached to our 90% of the people of India. Then translation is the answer, real-time translation from one language to other language. So Indian language, in an Indian context, in a multilingual context, administration, education, court, science, technology, in every domain area of use of the languages should be multilingual, and that is the challenge. Transferring knowledge from one language to other language is not that easy. Translation tool is also not a complete solution. The accuracy level would be 80% to 90%, but again, rest has to be manual, which needs training. So there are so many such issues of providing mother tongue medium education in a multilingual context. Teachers are providing teachers in many languages. There would be constraints of resources, financial resources, and availability of the teacher also. But policy demands, even research demands to provide education in mother tongue medium. So there are challenges, but we can find the solutions also. I think I have crossed my time limit.
Thank you so much, sir. It's a very interesting topic, and I think it brings out a lot of questions to ponder also. I have to take. So I'll come back with questions a little later, sir, so that Is the online participants, any one of them joined? Judith has joined. Good morning, ma'am. Are you able to hear me, ma'am?
Yes, I can hear you. Can
Very
you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly, ma'am. We are very happy that you could join, ma'am. So we are very happy to have Professor Judith Hollenweger Haskell. She is a professor at the Zurich University of Teacher Education. Her major research works are in the area of inclusive education, mainly applying ICF in teacher training and education and care. She has done a major ethnographic study on youth welfare services in domestic violence cases. This research project investigated how youth welfare workers deal with children affected by domestic violence, which courses of action are available to youth workers, and what obstacles they regularly encounter in their profession. Ma'am, with your background, I think it is indeed a very good topic to have discussion where youth and the domestic violence which is coming in, and at the same time what we are seeing, like as Professor Shastri also have mentioned, the enhancement which is needed in teacher training. So you have the experience on both sides. So I would like you to ponder upon, what are the existing challenges in the teacher education or the research in teacher education to handle the different aspects of bringing in enhanced equitable access to education, and what are the things which needs to be instrumented in our education system, whether schools or universities, to make sure that we can bring good quality education and bring in the research which will help us to also improve as we move forward in the approach of different education technologies and different educational pedagogical changes, ma'am. Feel free to say whatever you have. If you have prepared something else also, feel free to say that. So initially we will discuss, you can talk about 5 minutes, and then we will come up with a question answers session also.
Okay, thank you. Actually, I have prepared some more general comments, but I'm very happy to respond to any questions that you raised. Maybe I can just share my slides.
Go ahead, ma'am.
So, I thought I was going to try to provide some thoughts on possible policy recommendations. You have such a great number of recommendations already, so I did not want to add more because I think it's important to make sure that in the end they're heard. And I understand that you're a very diverse group with excellent expertise and knowledge of all the fields. And I think something that could help to bind the recommendations together to make them heard could be the combination of narrative and scientific approach. You mentioned the fact that I did a lot of research, but for me, telling a story is always what links people together and what links could also link your recommendations together. I will, in a very few slides, try to show how this could be done, also in terms of clarifying the interlinkages between recommendations. I just listened into your conversation shortly, and the language issue, of course, is a very important one because it either brings people together or it can separate people. So I think finding a common language is a key issue, and certainly been in my career. And you mentioned the ICF as which is basically a common language to describe functioning and disability, and to address tensions and contradictions that may raise up from different interest groups. Just to make the recommendation that you come up in the end as a C20 working group more meaningful to the G20 also. So I went through the topics that you're discussing in the course of these 2 days, and the first one, of course, addresses people with disabilities or with learning difficulties, and I think there it's so important characteristics of the person which are important for access. Here, any functional limitations may need to be addressed to minimize the impact on education and participation. But then such an important part is the interrelationship between people when they're interacting, and that's the focus on participation, which always must be ensured in education. And then separate from that issue is the issue of achievement, where you really should look at talents and potentials, because that's the empowerment for the future. I see over and over again that the discussion on people with disabilities is either conceptually only linked to one of these, or that the discussions are just not focusing enough really on the achievement, which for me is very important. To bring all the recommendations together, I think it's also important to think back to our universal ethical principles that we share across countries and across the regions in India, as the one basis that we can really relate to, because we cannot be friends, we cannot have family with everyone in the world, but we can find some common standing, and this may be something that could also be introduced into more into the recommendations that you provide to the G20 summit. So I believe the perspective of the learner is important to bring those three things together. So the access, the characteristics of the person, the experiences that they have in their current life situation to improve, and then, but to improve also the vision of the person that they have in terms of their life goals. So these are three issues, and we generally use this model to link the three together. So, for example, about accessibility, it's not just about the how, so which technology you use, or where, is it an inclusive a classroom, or is it in a separate building, but it's also about mainly the why. So why do children learn? In India, you have a wonderful philosopher and economist, Amartya Sen, who for me created the conceptual basis that maybe could be a guiding principle here, this good life, and how he does not only look at resources, so which languages I speak, but the speaker before was mentioning also the conversion factors. So yes, technological conversion factors can help to improve our capabilities. But in the end, it's also about freedom and having the choice that makes people truly inclusive and truly achieving what's important in their lives. And yeah, so when it comes to teaching capabilities, and I think that's what it takes for teachers, much more than only skills. They have to have a vision of where they go with the student. They have to have a vision for the students of where they can go. And this is not something you can teach directly, but it's something you need to make sure that teachers are able to develop agency and a sense of a growth mindset. So these are the things that I find very important. And maybe just to speak, I will leave this out because it's basically the same. And just to finish off my hopefully not too long short input is to remind us for example, also when it comes to domestic violence that you mentioned, the study we did in Serbia, where, of course, a country we have that was torn apart by war and by conflict. It's very much that we first try to focus on security, but I believe that even in the worst situation, people are given hope by a focus on growth. And I think we can see that in Europe now in terms of the war in Ukraine, that the purpose that is given to people is very important. So these are just a few general comments on the development of the recommendations to keep in mind when you're going into a lot of details and a lot of technicalities to keep that in mind. And I'm glad to contribute more technical issues as you think they're important to your discussions, either via email or in another form. Thank you.
Ma'am,
Yes.
it's indeed a very good overview you have brought in. So I think I will move on to the next speaker, and then we will come back once we finish each panel member discussing that 5 minutes, whatever they would like to express to this group. And after that, we will come with the Q&A. I hope you will be able to stay until that time.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Is Dr. Shahnaz Musa online? No. Okay. So I think we are indeed honored to have Dr. Bhushan Patwardhan, who is a distinguished and eminent person in the field of research and development with over 4 decades of experience in evidence-based Ayurveda ethnopharmacology, drug discovery and development, and integrative medicine. He holds the esteemed position of National Research Professor Ayush at Savitribai Phule, Pune University. Dr. Patwardhan is a fellow of the National Academy of Sciences and the National Academy of Medical Sciences in India. Throughout his illustrious career, Dr. Patwardhan has made significant contribution to academia and governance. He has served as the Vice Chairman of the University Grants Commission and Chairman of the Indian Council of Social Science Research, Government of India. He has also been involved with various prestigious institutions and national committees, including the UGC, CSIR, DST, DBT, ICMR, FSSAI, Niti Aayog, National Knowledge Commission, and Planning Commission. In addition to his administrative roles, Dr. Patwardhan has made substantial research contributions. He has been the Director of Institute of Ayurveda and Integrative Medicine and has held the position of Vice Chancellor at a deemed university. He is the recipient of prestigious honors such as Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel National Award, Sri Ramnath Chopra Oration, Valdemar Hafkin Oration, Dr. C. Dwarakanand Oration, Dr. P.K. Devi Oration, KLE University Oration, Dr. P.M. Mehta Oration, and the list goes on. And I think including Best Teacher Awards. I think we are really honored to have you here to bring up this into this panel and to bring in your points, sir. And as we were discussing just before the panel starts, okay, we would be, because you have such a vast knowledge in interdisciplinary areas and because of your experience in teaching and research, we would like to know that what are the knowledge systems in our country for innovations to be brought in, and how the research in our universities need to be changed so that we can achieve the SDG 4 objectives and targets.
Thank you, Professor Manisha, and all the panelists and participants. I would continue what Professor Jammu Shastri talked about. He talked about language diversity, multi-language challenges, and I'm going to talk more about the disciplines, because as languages determine, the also quality of education, the depth and diversity of discipline also is important. And I see that akin to languages also, you will find that there is a difference in different countries on what to focus. And you will find that, and this is not something which is in one country, but in several countries, you will find that there is a glamour given to STEM. And in the process, we tend to really ignore humanities and social sciences. For instance, in India, you will find that there is huge investment that goes in creating more IITs, more AIMS, more IIMs and such. But there is not a single national institute for humanities. we don't want to create in any countries of G7 or G20 countries, we don't want our citizens to emerge as right brain shrinked. Professor Shastri talked about the languages, and therefore I thought of continuing it with the disciplines. Multidisciplines is important, but both sides of brain development is very important in education, and our current focus is more towards left brain. Second point I want to tell you that the quality of education, what we mentioned about, and there was yesterday a very good panel and people have talked about this, but the purpose of education is, as Judith also mentioned, ultimate purpose of education is the well-being and good life. So what are we really doing for that purpose? We are not here in education to create robots. Today our education system has become like an assembly line production, and where teachers have monopolized education. It is about learning, it is not about teaching. And we most of the time undermine the capacities of the students. And this is what is something needed. As what Judith mentioned, I would like to say that teacher training is extremely important, and the mindset change of teachers is also important. They should remember that they are not the only ones who should take that onus to make that student educated. Because educatedness is different than degree. And that educatedness has a many different, deeper meaning. And to make a person educated, society also contributes, family contributes, mother is the first teacher. So universities also should not actually say that whatever happens inside the classroom and whatever I teach inside the classroom can only be eligible for gaining credits. It will be a wrong thing to do now, especially because when a student, and I know that Amrita University and several other universities have started doing this, that send your students outside. Most of the leading universities in the Western world, you will find that there is study abroad program. One semester students go outside the university or college to learn wherever they want. They can go in NGOs, they can go in SEOs, they can go wherever. So this is extremely important. Connecting education with today's reality is one side, developing overall personality is another thing, and education for the global good is the, or Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, what we talk about, and all this today in our own education system. I'm sure the recommendations which I saw yesterday, which are emerging, it will catch up, and the national education policy for India, actually, if you see, that is not limited only to India. If you look at the policy recommendation, that can actually become a policy for the world. Because most of the points which the world education system is facing are captured in that. So with this, I would, last point is research quality and relevance is extremely important. We can't go on doing Me Too research. Today, most of the research in my own discipline, I'm a biomedical researcher, I can tell you that most of our research, 80% of our research is going to West, and this is the recorded figures which I am telling you. So we are doing research for purpose of research for getting job, research for becoming professor, research for becoming the promotion, Research is not, research is for pleasure, research is for search of truth, So that, and therefore, because we are losing this basic purpose of research, then it becomes a compliance. I want a PhD, then I will buy PhD. I want to publish, then I will pay and publish. This kind of a pay and publish culture is really destroying the whole academic ethos in the university system. And this is not only for India or one country, this is across board. All countries are facing this predatory publishing challenges which are coming up. So academic integrity is also extremely important. So I'll stop here, but ultimately I would say that the in the process of running universities or colleges, we should not lose the basic purpose of education, and that is well-being. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. You have brought in a lot of very interesting points, which is of a big concern in today's education system itself. In the meanwhile, I actually want to call up of one of the members who can actually bring in the challenges what the administrative system is also facing. I just take the opportunity to call Sri Ritesh Kumar, IAS, Principal Secretary to Government, Department of School Education and Literacy, Government of Karnataka. We would like to hear your points as all of us are discussing. You may have a lot more to bring in, the real challenges you see in the field down below and what you envision how ours have to get transformed or when it goes into different countries also.
Thank you. I was supposed to be only a participant in this, ma'am, not a speaker. But I will, because I work in the field of education. We basically look at the problems in the government setup day in and day out. So even if this is a surprise for me, I'm happy to share a few thoughts. I think the biggest problem that plagues our education system is one of resources. And the other thing that I would think is very important is one of fragmentation. So and I'm only talking about our government schools, and I'm not talking about the private schools. So the problem is that in Karnataka we have about 50,000 schools and about 1.5 lakh teachers, and we have schools that have 10 children, 20 children, 40 children, and these are almost about like something around 30 to 40% of the schools. So even if I want to do something very tangible, it becomes extremely difficult to actually carry out those interventions in such a vast and disaggregated system. So I think that is one of the biggest challenges that we face in the school education system. In fact, I was reading through some data that overall in the entire country, the average number of children in each school is just about 150, whereas in China, which actually has less children than we have currently, it's more than 400. So basically building up how do we basically consolidate our schools so that they become standalone entities which can actually be supported in a focused manner. That is, I think, one of the biggest challenges that we face. And of course, if you compare it with and so this fragmentation also leads to the issue of how do we find adequate resources for our schools. For example, so if the school is small, I can't provide one sports teacher, I can't provide one arts teacher. Whereas if the school is big, then there is a possibility of giving all the other things that are required, not just the academic teachers, if you will. So I think these are the two biggest issues. Of course, with all the other things, the typical government, and by all government, the entire society, we grapple with the issues of corruption, and we can grapple with the issues of not really delivering what we have, we are not able to deliver. So those issues are of course there across the whole of government, across maybe even the whole of society at large. But with respect to the education system, that the government school education system, I think resources and fragmentation, these are the two biggest and the two most complex issues. So in fact, there were attempts to consolidate schools in Karnataka, for example, and there was a huge pushback. Nobody wants the consolidation of schools. People are very happy the way they are, even if there are 20 children. In fact, I have seen classes where there are just 5 children. Yeah, but still there's no. In fact, I told some of the teachers that in a classroom where there are just 5 children, there cannot be any education, because it's not just what you teach, it's also what the child learns from the other children. The child is not just coming here just for learning through books. The child is also coming here to learn, to interact with what his place in the society will be. But it's a really difficult question. Thank you. I'll stop there.
Say, you have brought in very valuable points. Naturally, resources, fragmentation, and the peer-based learning. I think this is very important, even whether we take in university system also, because since Padvadan sir was naturally being in the UGC side, I think you must have seen also, both of you must have seen a lot of challenges in providing resources all around the country, and also the non-availability, or no, we are not able to give different things to specific universities because of specific challenges which is coming in. So here, one of the question which I have seen is like, most of the time what I have seen is teachers are even unaware of, that whether I am delivering a proper education or whether I am delivering a proper, research quality what it is. So the measuring, monitoring aspect, even the self-assessment is even today is not strong enough for us to understand, okay, this is how I have to change, so that we can take the perspective of the learner. Professor Judith was bringing in, it is very important to bring in the perspectives of the learner. So I would put up in front of the panel members, I would like to hear about, to discuss how we can bring in consider the perspective of learners, and how you can train the teachers to understand that this is the perspective of the learner and this is how I need to revise or reskill myself to achieve these things. Today several places teachers don't even think I have to reskill. They will continue with what they have learned over years. So what are the perspectives from the government of India or in the world around? What are you seeing as changes, and what we need to bring in to all the panel members, whoever feels like?
No, but the role of teachers is changing. Role of teachers is changing very rapidly, and teachers are no more now required to give information, which most of the time teachers are doing today. Because today's students are much smarter than teachers, because they have grown with the technology. We have learned the technology. There is a big difference in that. So we must understand that we are not there to give them information. Many times students come to me and they literally cry. They say that please tell those teachers, to stop showing us PowerPoint presentation. They say that this is death by PowerPoint. They say we can read our textbooks, Why do you want textbooks to be converted on PowerPoint and go on showing us this, inside the classroom they are very decent because they are worried about their internal marks, And I think that making compulsion anything in education on students, I think we should really resist. Students should become interested, they should come on their own. Teachers' role should be to make them more interested, and inquisitiveness, which is there already. I think every student has inherent capacity, to learn. And our job is to really help them to learn. And so I would make this difference. And this is the new role which COVID period has even more highlighted it, And so my point to answer to this is, there are various levels teachers have to get themselves trained. Information giving part is already over. Mentoring is something which they can do. Hand-holding is something they can do. They can bring in their experience in the classroom and relate that information, how to make out of that information. They should help their students to really learn. And it's co-learning now. It is no more me as a teacher and I will tell you. This is authoritative part is already gone because of the information explosion which is happening, and because of the technology which we are in today. Not just ChatGPT is just a beginning, but there are many disruptions in education which are likely to come, and teachers must get ready for that in their mind. So it's a mindset change which has to happen inside the teachers, and the name teacher also, connects to teaching. So it is more, it should be really transformed into more learning, because teachers should also become lifelong learners. Otherwise this changes. And my comments mostly are restricted to university education. School education problems are entirely different. And I personally feel that our job in the university is much easy than school teachers. School teachers, I think I respect them a lot. And I think that their job is much more complex, much more responsible than us. So strengthening that level, and unless you fix that, the dream of increasing GR will remain only dream. This GR is not going to increase just by creating online degrees, which is not the right way to do this. Strengthening school education, I think the first opportunity for countries like India, developing countries. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I'll give to Professor Shastri.
I think we are treating the symptoms, not the disease, not the root cause of the disease. So there is a need to change the approach. For example, if there is a behavioral problems with the students or the environment, school environment, or the teaching learning process, see, Shraddha is not being inculcated among the students. That is the root cause of the. And we don't have the ways and approach to inculcate Vinaya. Shraddha, Vinaya, Vishwasa, these are all the, and also Dharma. Dharma, I am not talking about the context of religion. Dharma, not in the context of puja paddhati as generally it is understood. Dharma is global ethics as Justice Ramajoyce puts it. The Mahabharata says, Yad bhutam hitamatyantam saha dharmaha. That which is for the good of the whole living being, that is dharma. I am quoting the motto of Parliament of India, Dharma Chakra Pravartanaya. What dharma mentioned in the Parliament's motto. I am quoting the motto of Supreme Court of India. Yato dharmaha tato jayaha. That dharma. What is that dharma? Dharma in education, dharma in science, dharma in school, dharma in teaching, dharma in technology, dharma in commerce, dharma in jurisprudence. I am talking about that dharma. Are we teaching that dharma? Are we imparting that dharma to the students? It is global. It is nothing to do with the one particular way of worship. So there are many such issues. If we address them, if we inculcate such qualities, many of the things will change. One. Second point I wanted to, the research today, it is more on with the empirical data and of that kind. I don't think any education department has done research on, on methods and approaches to bring change in the rootedness or the fundamental problems of the education. So focus should be more on such issues. Even in the all the teachers at school education are not connected to any research activity. Higher education teachers, professors are connected to research, but school teachers are not connected to, they don't have any project or activity for research within the system. So the same teaching method, same material, same content repeats year after year. How many years of service you have? If you ask, teacher will say, I have 18 years service. But your experience is not of 18 years. Your teaching experience is of 1 year, repeated 18 times, 17 times more. So in Sanskrit, there is called, one in teaching this one, Sakrit Prayoga Pratijna. For example, Sakrit means once. If you use one method or technique in teaching in classroom, you will not repeat it second time. Second time you have to bring in a new technique for imparting the same quality, same. Every time using a new technique, new material, content may be the same, but you prepare it afresh, new. So there are so many such, and even the research methodology. Today we adopt a research methodology which is developed in one country, and that has been taken here as it is, without considering the local conditions. That is also another issue. So everything is blindly imported. So for example, as a research methodology, there are ancient solutions for modern problems. Ancient solutions for modern problems. As a research methodology, in India, in Indian languages, there are Tantra Yukti. Tantra Yukti is nothing but research method. There are 36 types of Tantra Yuktis for thousands of years. They are prevailing in Ayurveda. The success of development of Ayurveda is ascribed to Tantra Yuktis. And Nyaya, the way of Jijnasa, questioning, reasoning, find definitions, creating the Nyaya is a language of reasoning and researching. So there are so many such, this one in classical languages of India, like Tamil, Sanskritam, Pali, Prakrit, Malayalam, Kannada. The classical texts have so many such rich knowledge and methodology as well. Not only knowledge, the methodology also. They have to be researched again.
Thank you, sir. Very valid points you have brought in, like, bringing in the local context, and also what is the real value system which we have to teach, so that, the inherent challenges can be solved. Professor Judith, are you there?
Yes.
Would you have some
I'm listening.
comment to bring in? Based on
Sorry?
Do you have any comment to say about the discussions which was happening here?
No, I just enjoyed listening to what was said. Maybe one sources. Obviously, India is at a different point than Switzerland is, but even our teachers are calling for resources rather than becoming resourceful, so to say. I think often it's important for teachers, as was mentioned, to really change their mindset. And I enjoyed the comments on the research, just being imported and copied. And in a way, that's the same with teachers and with all of us. It's easier to copy something that was said before, rather than really taking it in and making it an essence of who we are and sharing it with other people and enriching it with the local context, as you mentioned. And I think this transformation of knowledge ultimately also makes it more meaningful for students. And I agree that teachers are no longer the conveyors of information. They need to be coaches, as was mentioned, but I think they also need to be able to build relationships to inspire students and to open up the world and find their own path and not take a preset, a way that is described in a fixed curriculum, which still is a problem in many countries, and really empower teachers to have a vision, future vision, and to help students develop their own positive vision of what they will be capable in the future.
So Judith, it's very valid point, and you have actually brought in the the different perspectives of the resource. Teachers are looking for resources rather than becoming more resourcefulness is really a very strong statement which you have brought in. And in the meanwhile, because of the time constraint, I think I would open up now the questions to the group who is here. So I would request each one of you can have like short one question each so that the panel members can address. You can introduce and then quick introduction, who you are, and then just go ahead with.
My name is Karuna Singh. I'm Regional Director Asia for the global environmental NGO Earth Day Network. I would like to bring up a point that relates to all the discussions that have taken place here, and that is the emphasis to be given on climate education. Climate education is what anthropologically we are affecting the climate and how the climate is going to in turn affect human beings. There is a race for this because it is only about 6 years left till when we reach the 1.5 degrees Celsius, by which time climate change will become irreversible. So if you talk of interdisciplinary studies, whether it's STEM, humanities, social studies, it is in all of them. Whether you talk about sustainable and resilient communities, it is with all of them. Whether you talk about violence, which will happen because you have climate refugees that are going to come in, it is there. If I might just change your definition slightly from the purpose of education is the purpose of well-being to one of existence, because the survival of humans is now under threat. And so if I might take your dharma to say that dharma is the good for all, because climate education is not, it's inclusive in the sense that it affects all of us. It is going to affect me whether I'm rich, or it's going to affect the poor person also. It is going to affect the US and it's going to affect India as well. So I think that climate education has not been given the status it should be. We are so involved in talking about other things, but this is for our survival. Thank you.
Ma'am, it's a very valid point, and I think government also, different governments in all the different countries are, this discussions are happening to take forward this. So it's very,
Not adequate enough.
yeah, I understood.
NDCs,
Yeah.
very few have climate education.
Yes, yes. I'll just give to this side and then come back.
Good morning. Myself, Dr. Sudhi Joshi. I'm a DO in Government of Gujarat. I just put one thing, just SDG integration is a need of an hour because all SDGs are interconnected and interlinked. When we talk about the quality education, we want not brilliancy and intelligence, we want performance. Performance of students make them proud. Performance of students related with the learning outcome, and learning outcome is the ultimate charm of SDG 4. So we are here and we are implementing 3I in the education system of Gujarat. 3I, that is inform, inspire, integration. Students in primary section inspired by the teachers' peers, and in the higher educations where we make them change agent, give them assignment, give them inter-college competitions and etc. And they come forward and then become change maker. We are here for making them change agent to change maker for sustainable India. So here I put one question, in front of all the dignitaries that how can we bring embracing change through SDG integration for sustainable India, what we want. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the question to everybody about asking about how can we make the students as change makers. I don't know whether anybody want to respond to that.
I wanted to ask a question. I can't, I may not be in position to answer you, though I have some answers. But I wanted to include one point in Dr. Bhushan.
Your name.
Oh, sorry. I'm Dr. Vinita Apte, founder and director of TER Policy Center. TER means Earth in French, and we stand for Technology, Education, Research, and Rehabilitation for the Environment. So, concluding with this Dr. Bhushan Patwardhan's point of school education, I always think that there has to be some person who drives students. Means now if we see how many people are by heart they go for the teaching profession, there are very few people they really want to be a teacher, and those are the people that can drive the students to go for the best education, for the best discipline, and for the research what you talked about. Dr. Kalam used to say that you have to research day by day. I mean, it's not only for the for your evaluation but for the societal evaluation also. So I wanted to focus to the society that there has to be some good teachers. Some means 95% should be go for teaching profession. You maybe know that there are very few people that if we go for the survey, there are very few people, students, they choose the profession as a teacher. So that if that point we can evaluate about human being and they wanted to be a teacher, then there will be a lot of difference in education policy and education things. Thank you.
Very valid point. I think one of the major thing, if I take points from the different speakers, I think naturally to bring in someone to actually motivate and inspire you, a teacher to become like that. The teacher education needs to change a lot, and it's very demanding to make it. It's really changing a person itself to bring into that, because as you say that you have to change the teaching methodologies. You have to have the objective of what you really want to bring in this society, how the society needs to be, because the students are the future generation. So it's really challenging, and I don't think current teachers are equipped to that level, but it's a larger, uncertain, there is a larger uncertainty there and a lot of personalization needed there. So it becomes very complex on implementing such an education system for teachers, and it takes, yeah.
Hello, I'm Chandrika and I've come from Bombay. One important thing I think we also need to think about is the mental health of children. With technology making house in our own homes, children are facing a lot of thank you. Children are facing a lot of mental health issues. Somebody spoke about peer learning. There are peers who are bullying other children. There are other stress related to education, stress that are, to get into good university, to get into having the best percentage. Everybody wants to get 99.797% something. And, incorporating within education some aspects of personal safety where we are empowering children to take care of themselves. What are their boundaries? How do they set their own personal boundaries? How do we inculcate respect, empathy amongst children so that they become better individuals when they grow up, and create a support network for children by the children themselves. I think that is something that we really need to think while we are thinking about all the other aspects of working towards better education of society, of children. Thank you.
Thank I think this creating support network is something which is needed, whether it is in education, research, or any community. I think that is something which needs to be inculcated, and a methodology and metric or process of things may have to be brought in.
Thank you. Sahai, we have been doing a lot of non-formal education work along with some research. So, and I believe the immediate purpose of education is learning, which will lead to a positive change. That can happen. Positive or negative can happen. If it is a positive change, that is for the well-being of the community which we represent, not for the individual. So based on that we are doing it. But when we discuss about this research for quality education, etc., what is the purpose of research at present? What is the policy? It is an added qualification for getting an employment or for getting a promotion. What else the community is getting out of that? Or the other participants getting, students getting out of that. So we have to look into that. And I certainly believe and convinced that the purpose of research will be the empowering process of all the stakeholders getting involved. That itself is a learning process which will lead to a changing process in the individual who have been getting involved in the whole process. So if it happen, it should be a participatory approach like that, whether you are taking this side or that side or somewhere. But that is not happening. So we have to change the policy and approach of the government whenever we are taking this research. Not say that this is an added qualification for these things. This should result in ultimately the well-being, growth, and facilitation of the process of well-being of the community as such. Then only change will occur. So I agree with sir. So people students are packed up with all the information. They don't want it. They need the facilitate. They need the facilitation, and they need the direction, right direction, how we can make use of the available resources, information, etc., etc. So that we have to look into. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I'll pass on to that back side.
First of all, my pranams to the holy feet of Amma here. First of all, my pranams to the holy feet of Amma and my due respect to all the scholarly gurus here. I am not having a question as such, but some of the subjects which I haven't discussed earlier, I don't know, like in different things I'm that. First of all, any progress or development we talk, that when we have got a destination, or we are walking everywhere, will be meaningless. So when we talk of quality education, we have to think what are our destination, what are points that we want. And again, when you think of a holistic education, it's not enough to take only parts. So Sankhya and Yoga both should go together, I think. Then only anatomy and physiology should go together. All parts is study, but function. All parts study, but without the function, what for function? It is meaningless. In the education also, it's different things in tidbits here and there. So in a holistic sense, we must find out whether in terms of attitude, in terms of behavior, academic excellence, capacity building, all these aspects, what are a specific target for which we mean quality education? Otherwise, in a vague terminology, as a matter of fact, there are so many words in India: secularism, dharma, non-secularism. No meaning, no, simply we talk different person with having different meanings. So we should have a specific concept when we talk of a policy, especially on quality of education in different aspects of education. This is one thing. And another thing, Professor Bhushanji was telling the right point about educational ecosystem. It is not only the teachers and school classrooms, but one most neglected, not cared thing here is hostels.
A child spends 5 to 6 hours in school. Those who are in the hostel, see, we are sending 1,000 students, ST, SBC, OBC, then international schools. And if we are giving a small piece of wood to a carpenter, an expert carpenter. But do you know any other training for running good hostels, hostel management and hostel things? It's something our education never paid attention to this. So I think very important thing in this education policy is world over. And in modern situation, thousands and thousands, lakhs and lakhs of children go to the hostel. They are not with the parents also. They are not with the parents. Now they are in the classroom in 6 hours. But 80 to 19 hours they are there. Education system, the hostel is a very important thing for which I think in this our CDT, we must address it. And I actually have prepared a plan also for hostel management is what can be done, what is to be taught, all these things. It's on different occasions we talk on it. So this is one thing that I want to raise. And another point was raised by Professor Venkatesh, that about schools. This of my own experience, I think, right from school to university level, I had an experience of teaching and learning together. So teaching and learning for teachers as well as to children. Because I was in a single teacher skill. For 5 classes, there's only one teacher. So I used to be sent to the lower class. And when we went to higher class also, in high school, etc., there were teachers for each class. But the students who could not follow in the class, in the evening they come and sit with me. We call it revision work. But, so I mean, my own experience I'm telling. And I have experimented it with, in other schools also. In schools also. And again, in education, we are teaching method, we are talking too much. But learning methods, see, it is not enough if we teach mathematics, we teach how to learn mathematics. So this is not stressed. That is very important in our policy, to give stress on learning methods in teaching. That is required for both teachers as well as student. Teaching and learning should go together in both. This is another point that I want to raise here.
Can I give the next question done because of the time limitation?
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. Okay.
Pranam to all.
Sir,
Pranam to all. Yeah, it's okay. Pranam to all my family members. My name is Yogesh Ramchandra Patre. I'm coming from Nagpur, Maharashtra. My organization name is Rashtriya Shikshak Palak Sangathan. It's a National Teachers Parents Association, India. My question, actually, I made a suggestion also, but it's too long, right? So my question is it possible one nation, one education and free education in India? Because all we are saying Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. It means one earth, one family and one future. Is it possible one earth, one education and free education in India? Because it's being a father of 2 kids, no, I face a lots of problems. And as a founder of the organization, I got lots of problems from Nagpur, Maharashtra, from Delhi, from everywhere. So is it possible, we are talking about a quality education, we can give only one board to the school students? We don't want state, we don't want ICSC, we don't want CBSE, we don't want IB. You know, can we give one board, Bharat board? For an example, it's the name of Bharat board. Under that Bharat board, we can give a quality education, spirituality, technological education, everything we can give at a free of cost. That is my question. Thank you.
I will invite the panel members to respond.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mrityunjay Guha Majumdar, Assistant Professor in Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham and UNESCO Chair on Youth and Advocacy. I would like to discuss and reinforce what Chamu Shastriji mentioned about decolonization. And I think it's very, very important to understand that there are not only epistemological methods, but also metadynamical aspects. I mean, for instance, things like reductionism, which is a very Western kind of approach to a lot of things, needs to be replaced with things like multiplicity of approaches and so on and so forth. I had 2 very specific questions to the panelists. One was to do with decentralized benchmarking. This is something which has helped Brazil, for instance, really go up in the education policy rankings in the world, and it's a developing country as well. So they have a way in which national, state, and district benchmarking happens in a very efficient manner to see the efficacy of any framework. The second thing is to do with experiential learning and also the idea of micro-learning environments, how we can have some adaptive learning models come into the system so as to customize the education for the tendencies and abilities for various students. I think that's a matter of importance and relevance, and I would like to know the panelists' views on that. Thank you.
Ek Bharat, Shrestha Bharat is a concept. To that extent, it is fine. That has to be there. But structurally, the entire system, societal system, administrative system, all systems, they have to be multiple because of the vastness of the and the very nature of the land. So there will be diversity and there will be unity. So this one is diversity in unity is the concept. Diversity in unity. Diversity is the beauty. That is the beauty. So unity is the strength, that oneness. So diversity, beauty of diversity is explicit. Strength of the unity is implicit, that is within, that is outside, this is inside. Unity, strength of the unity is inside. Beauty of the diversity can sustain only because of the strength of the unity. So we need both unity and diversity. So diversity has to be preserved. Any form of diversity has to be preserved. But without unity, if we talk of only diversity, that will end with the chaos or destruction. That is divisive. So there could be only two thought processes. One is divisive, another is unifying, inclusive. So we are for diversity in unity, not in the uniformity. Uniformity is different. We want unity and diversity as well.
Expand on that point. There can be one component. I think in higher education at least, I would divide education into broadly two categories. One is general education, and that is very important. High order cognitive capabilities, for example, inculcating those in any student is extremely important. Thinking, how to, not only critical thinking, yesterday there was some discussion about thinking, but how to really stimulate thinking process. Today our education system is not encouraging thinking. In fact, it is discouraging thinking. So thinking, when I'm saying, see, you don't have to be an engineer to think like an engineer. You don't have to be a mathematician to think like a mathematician. So how to create this thinking society is one very important component today which is missing in education, which can be common to all. The student can be from any country, but the rationalization, the reasoning, the theory building, understanding difference between fake news and real news, or articulation, or expression, or the sensitivities of mind, if you are not able to really understand the agonies of farmers who are making suicide, or the refugees' pain, if you are not able to feel, what kind of student community we are building. So this can be common to all, irrespective of where you come from. This is educatedness. And the second component of education is specialized education. Then it will depend on which discipline you bring in. You have to go deep in it. But no matter, the first component of education can be really built in such a way that it really creates a more sensitive, more responsible, not only to humanity but to the planetary good, what you talk about. Because now we are not talking about well-being of our own, it is well-being, planetary well-being is a concept which all of us have now accepted, So from that concept aspect, the new education and the new policies and the new pedagogies should evolve, Thank you.
Just a small comment. We have to inculcate the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam in the context to our each and every student should understand this concept. Small family. Within the family, there are so many diversities, and we manage. India is the only, we have that capacity to manage diversities. So, from small family, So then the larger family of relatives, the still larger family, village family, then Janapada family, state family, country family, then Vasudhaiva family. So from small kutumba, mama kutumba to Vasudhaiva kutumba. So that concept we have to teach, inculcate the students.
Thank you, sir. I know I can see a lot of hands raising, but there is a time limitation. We have already crossed our time. Since Professor Judith is waiting for a long time on the other side, I would like to hear from her some of the ending comments, which you were listening, all of us, and you may have very specific comments to bring in from the global context. We look forward to hear from you, ma'am.
Thank you. Yeah, let me respond to three points. You were bringing up the issue of performance of students, and I think that's a very important issue, but it needs to be a broad concept. Sometimes learning outcomes are not visible in schools, but they're visible beyond. So making learning visible is something I find very important because it may come up in unexpected ways and not in the narrow testing situation that schools are often engaged in. I enjoyed the comments on rethinking reductionism versus multiplicity. And I think we do need multiplicity as we need diversity and unity. And that's where the importance for me of values comes in. And I think during this session, many universal values that we all share, even though we're thousands of kilometers apart, came up. And I think these need to be built into teacher education and into education in general. And yes, I agree. We need to have reflective practitioners. So you mentioned thinking society. We actually have a joke in our university. We say, our students never get run over by a car at night because they're reflecting all the time. But I think reflection alone will not save us from the climate challenges that were mentioned in the beginning of this discussion. I think we also have to instill a sense of agency in our teachers. So not just to think and believe the good things, but also overcome obstacles and pursue what you value and what we all share as major values. And I think a lot of it was discussed in this session. And to finish up, just thank you very much for the opportunity to join you for this session.
Very much, ma'am. I know it is a very interesting panel with a lot of inputs in, I think, in a very diverse directions, and we had a very good participant also coming from the teacher to the professional to the student angle to the administrative angle. And I take this opportunity to extend my gratitude to all the panel members and all the who have joined for this panel. Very thankful, and hopefully these points we will pass it on to the coordinators of this working group and take forward for the policy deliberations. Thank you, everybody, one and all. Thank you.